I'm Anil Kumar. Welcome to my series on solutions to EQAO grade 9 test papers. So I picked up previous test papers. While solving them, I'll give you concepts also, and these concepts should help you to do better in your test and understand the topics. Let me thank EQAO for sharing all this information with us and making it public. Now, when you are preparing for EQAO, you need to understand few formulas. So here is a list of few of them which you should understand. Well, calculator is allowed and the formulas are given to you. But still, let's go through these important formulas before taking up questions from the test paper. In this video, I'm actually going to solve all the questions of 2015. Now, the important equations to consider are: 1. Equation of line. At least 3 questions will be based on this equation, y equals to mx plus b, where m is the slope of the line and b is the y-intercept. Then Pythagorean theorem, c square equals to a square plus b square. In a right triangle, a and b are the shorter sides and c is the hypotenuse. So sum of squares of these two legs is equal to the square of the third one. For example, here 4 square is 16, 3 square is 9. When you add, you get 25, right? So which is 5 square. Then sum of interior angles of any polygon. Well, as you know, a triangle makes 180 degrees. So triangle is sides, 3 sides. So 3 minus 2 gives you 1, 1 times 180. That is how you could remember the formula. So if I have octagon, 8 sides, n is 8. 8 minus 2 times 180 will give you the sum of interior angles for that polygon. A regular polygon, I should write. Okay. In a regular polygon, all angles will be equal, but the sum is going to be that much. Okay. Then we have some important formulas for area. Area of a trapezoid is sum of the two parallel sides times the height or distance between them divided by 2. For circle, the area is pi r square. In 3D, we'll consider volume of a cylinder which is pi r square h. Pi r square is the area of the base and h is the height. Volume of a cone is 1/3 of the area of a cylinder. For sphere, the volume is 4 by 3 pi r cube. So these are few formulas to share. Feel free to contact me on the email address given for any questions relating to this particular topic. Now, it is also important that you have to actually fill in the answers in the sheet provided using a pencil, right? So this is very important. But in my case, I'm going to solve these questions one by one, right? So I'm going to solve these questions one by one, but I'm not going to fill up that sheet. I'll provide you with the solution in the space here, and we'll see how to solve these questions and also understand some good concepts related with the given question so that you could actually perform much better in your own tests. So let's begin with the very first question here. Question number 1 here is: a rectangle is divided into 5 equal sections as pictured below. Which of the following represents the area of one section, right? That means just one of them, not. So we have to basically divide the whole area by the number of sections, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is all, right? So one section area will be total area, which is 3x times 25x, right? 3x times, let me write in brackets, 25x, and we have to divide this by 5 since we have 5 sections. Does it make sense to you? Correct? So when you multiply, it is better to divide first. So 5 goes 5 times. So 5 times 3 is 15, to get 15, and x times x is x square. So we get 15x square as our answer, which is option D for us, correct? Is that clear to you? So that is how you're going to solve this question. Now let's look into question number 2. Question number 2 here is, the table below contains 5 expressions, right? These are the 5 expressions. How many of these expressions are equivalent to p to the power of 2 to the power of 3? So let's try to understand what does this mean. So let me write down here. When I say p to the power of 2 to the power of 3, it basically means p to the power of 3 times 2, 6. That's what it means, right? So whenever we have power of power, it gets multiplied. So we get this. In these expressions, what values are given to us? Well, when you multiply p 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, so this one basically is p to the power of 6. Here, 2, 2, 2. When you add them up, you again get p to the power of 6. Here, when you add, you get 5, right? So that is not 6. This is p to the power of 5 already given. This is p to the power of 6. So the question here is, out of these expressions, how many of these expressions are equivalent to? They're same as p to the power of 6. So we got 1, 2, and 3. So option C is the right option. Is that clear to you, right? So that is how we are going to answer this question. So I hope that is absolutely clear. So it kind of summarizes for you the rules of exponents. So when you multiply with one same number, it is the same number base to the power of 6. When you multiply with the same base, the exponents get added up, and that is how you get this formula, right? So it actually reminds you of the laws of exponent, right? So that is laws of exponent. And this is called the power rule, right? So that is how we could do it. Now let's look into question number 3. Question number 3 for us is, a rectangle is shown below with algebraic expressions for its length and width in centimeters. 3x is the length, x plus 5 is the width. Which expression represents the area of the triangle in centimeter squares? So area basically will be what? Area will be 3x times x plus 5. So we just need to multiply this. So it is applying the distributive property. When you multiply with x, 3x, you get this as equal to 3 times x squared. And when you multiply 3x with 5, you get 15x. So equivalent expression is 3x squared plus 15x, which is the D option, right? So the last option here is the correct option. Is that clear to you? So I hope now polynomial multiplication is absolutely clear. Let's move on and take question number 4. Question number 4 is, what is the solution of the equation given below, which is 2 over 3x minus 4 equals to 20. So first step is we can add 4 on both sides, correct? So add 4 on both sides. So we get 2 over 3x equals to 20 plus 4, which is 24. Now, to get the value of x, we'll multiply by 3 over 2. So we can do 24 times 3 over 2, right? We can say cross multiply. Now let's simplify this also. Calculator is allowed, so you could do it with calculator also, right? So half of 24 is 12, and 12 times 3 is 36. So we get option D as the right option. Perfect. Now question number 5 is a word problem for us. It says, Mia sells t-shirts from a booth at a market. She pays $30 to rent the booth. Each t-shirt costs her $1.50 and she sells them for $7.50 each. Her goal is to make $200 after she pays for the booth and the t-shirts. What is the minimum number of t-shirts Mia must sell to reach her goal, right? So let's talk about the cost and the revenue, right? So let's say what is the cost here and what is the revenue. The cost is she pays $30 to the booth. So that is a fixed cost. 30, right? And then each t-shirt costs her $1.50. So plus $1.50 for each t-shirt. Let's call that number as N. So that becomes the cost, right? The revenue here is $7.50 for each shirt, right? So we get $7.50 times N. That is the money received. Now her goal is to make a profit of 200 after she sells. So this take away that should be 200. So that is how you get your equation. So let me rewrite this equation as $7.50 times N minus $1.50 times N minus the cost of 30 should give profit of 200. This is what she wants. Is that clear to you? So taking away 150 from 750 gives us 6, right? 6.00. And we'll take, let's do it in 3 steps, okay? Is 200, correct? So now we can take 30 on the right side. So we get 6N equals to 200 plus 30, which is 230, right? So what is N now equals to? N will be equal to 230 divided by 6. Okay? 6 times 4 is 24, so less than that. 6 times 3 is 18. And 50, 6 times 8 is 48 point something, right? That means she has to sell more than that, right? A round number, 39 is your answer. Is that clear, right? 6 times 8 is 48 and then again 2, so 0.3. But you cannot sell 1/3 of a shirt, so the number has to be rounded higher. So N has to be 39. Is that clear to you, right? So that is one way of doing it. Now let's look into question number 6, which is again a word problem. It says, Joanne drives for 2.5 hours at a constant speed and travels 250 kilometers. Francis drives at a constant speed exactly 10 kilometers per hour less than Joanne's speed. Okay, so let's figure out the speed here. Now speed is distance over time, right? So for any problems related to distance, speed and time, we'll always consider this particular triangle to remember the formula, right? So the formula is that distance is speed into time. When we want to find speed, we can say speed S is equals to distance divided by time, right? So speed is distance divided by time. So in this case, it is 250 divided by 2.5, and that gives you 100, correct? You can use the decimal values to figure it out. Use calculator otherwise. Now, for Frank's, the speed is 10 kilometers per hour less. That means the speed is 90 kilometers per hour. Is that clear to you? Right. Now the question is, which point on the graph below could represent the distance traveled and time spent traveling for Frank? Okay. So 90 kilometers per hour, we have to figure out which is the right point. So we know the speed now for us is equal to 90 kilometers per hour. We are given time and distance. So distance should be equal to what? Let me write here. Distance, let me move this a bit so that you can clearly see the work, right? So here we are. We are given a couple of options which we'll look into after solving. So distance is what? So distance is speed into time, right? Speed into time. So 90 times the time should give you the distance. If I multiply by 2, then what do I get? Let's do 90 times 2, we get 180. However, this is 200, not correct. Times 4 is 360, right? So at 4, this is 3. I missed 3 here. So 3 times 90 is 270. Well, this is 350, so it is not quite right. In this case, it is 5. So this is to 5 times 90, which gives us 450. Well, that is correct. This is 450. So this point seems to be correct. So Y is the correct point. Y is our answer. Is that clear to you? Right? So let's try to understand this question once again. It's slightly tricky. Now what we are given here is speed of one person, which is 100 kilometers per hour. The other person is driving at 10 kilometers per hour less. That means the speed is 90 kilometers per hour. Now in the graph, we have to see at different times using 90 how much distance can be covered. And we found that when time is 5, then 5 times 90 is 450. So that matches, right? So 90 times 5 is 450, which is the correct point on this particular graph. And so option B is the right option. Is that clear to you? Question number 7. Which of the following shows information from a linear relation between C and N? So we are given some values for N and C. So we need to figure out which one of these is linear. So for linear, what are we trying to say? For any linear relation, it has to be a straight line. That means if we are considering 3 points, there are 3 points given here. Slope has to be same, right? So we want same slope. And what is slope? Let me say M is my slope. We find slope M as y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we have to compare these values. Now in our case, y values are the c values and the x values are the n values. So we can write this as c2 minus c1 over n2 minus n1 will give us the slope. Is that clear to you? Right? So that is how we are going to find the slope. Now let's figure out the slope for the first one. So here n is going up by 1 and this is going up by 1 and here it goes by 2. So it's a different slope, right? So that is not linear. Perfect. Let's do the second one. C is going up by 2 and then again by 2. However, the n value is going up by 2 and also by 2, right? So in this case, M is 2 over 2, which is 1 for both the cases. So this is the correct option, right? So this is linear. Do you see that? So we can find both the slopes and both are same. And therefore, it is linear and that's how we are going to answer it. Clear? Now, let's move on to question number 8. Question number 8 is, the total cost of yearbook for a school is made up of $375 setup fee and $25 for each yearbook purchased. There is a linear relationship between the total cost and the number of yearbooks purchased. What type of variation is this relation and what is the initial value? Okay. Now, let's try to understand the equation. The total cost of the yearbook for a school is made up of, this is a fixed cost, right? So total cost C is basically equals to fixed cost of $375 plus $25 for each yearbook purchased. Let's say plus 25N, number of yearbooks. Is that okay? Now this clearly is partial variation, right? So it's a partial variation. Since there is a fixed cost involved, and it says what type of variation? It's a partial variation. And what is the initial cost? Initial means when n equals to 0, then C equals to 375. So that is the initial cost. Therefore, option C is the right option. Is that clear to you? Perfect. So that gives you concept of application with linear equations. I hope you're finding it interesting. So let's move on and take question number 9 now. Question number 9. A company ships CDs in crates of equal size. The graph below shows the relationship between the total mass of a crate and the number of CDs it contains. Which of the following equations represents the relationship between the total mass of the crate M and the number of CDs it contains N, right? So that's what we need to figure out. Now we can get this information from the given graph. Let's try to analyze this graph, right? So it's kind of going like this. So we could expect this point to be 100 when there are no CDs. Do you see that? So you're looking into this pattern. So from here, we can go left 2 and 1 down, left 2 and 1 down. So we come to 0. So that helps us to get the equation. Initial value for us is 100, right? So we get an equation which is 100 plus. Now cost of each CD is rate of change. So when I'm adding, 100 is the number of CDs, the mass added is 25, right? This is 125. Is that clear? So 125 is the mass added, right? When we are adding 100 CDs. So we can find the rate, or M in this case. Let me write down here. In this case, M will be equal to the change in Y value is 125 minus 100, right? 125 minus 100 over change in the X value 100 minus 0. So that gives you 25 over 100, which is 0.25. Is that clear? Correct? So that is one way of doing it. So we get the rate at 0.25, and therefore the equation is 0.25 N. Correct? So that becomes the relation with the mass. The one answer which matches with ours is so these are the two with hundreds and 0.25 N. So A matches, right? So that is the answer. Now, it is not necessary to figure out 100, right? You could do the other way also, which could be lengthier. You could take any 2 points, find a slope, and then the equation. But this is definitely a better way, correct? So I hope you understand the concept. Now let's see how to do question number 10. Question number 10 is, a relationship is represented by the following graph. Which equation represents this relationship? So based on linear equations, we have many questions in EQAO, right? Now this is the fixed value, so 2 plus rate of change. So select a point, let's say this point, right? So what is the slope here? M is change in the Y value, which is 5 minus 2 divided by the change in X value, which this is 3 for us, right? So 3 minus 0. So 5 minus 2 is 3, and 3 minus 0 is also 3. So we get slope of 1. And therefore, the equation is the Y value C is equals to 2 plus N times 1, which is 2 plus N, right? So C equals to N plus 2 is your solution, which is option A for us. Is that clear to you? Perfect. So it's kind of simple if you look into the equation directly, right? It's a partial variation, y-intercept at 2, and slope is 1. Question number 11. A local band pays 5,000 to record its first album and 15 cents for each CD made. The band pays 7,000 to record its second album and 10 cents for each CD made. How will the graph of the relationship between the total cost and the number of CDs made for the second band differ from the graph of the first band? So, okay. And then we are given options. The graph of the line for the second album will start. We have a couple of options. So that is the second album. Fixed cost is 7,000, right? So let's first sketch the graph and then we'll discuss this. Okay, so let me do the graph on the left side, and then we'll look into the options and answer. So the first one, which is 5,000 and some rate, which is 15 cents. Let's say this is the first one, okay, which starts at 5,000. Okay. The second one in this case is starting higher, but the rate is lower. So it'll be kind of like this, starting at 7,000. Do you see, understand? That is the second one. Now, let's answer the question. We are given options which are the graph of the line for the second album. That means we are comparing with, this is our second album, will start lower? No, it starts higher, right? So it starts higher on the vertical axis and is steeper. No, it is not steeper. So option D is the correct option. Higher on the vertical axis and be less steep. Is that clear to you? So that is how you're going to answer this question. So I hope the concept is clear. Now question number 12 is an open response question. Let's take a break here. We'll continue with open response after a break. I hope you find this exercise interesting and useful. Feel free to write your comments, share your views, and if you like and subscribe to my videos, that'd be great. Thanks for watching and all the best.